Hi friends, I'm Shauna. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the long-awaited year-end empties video. This video is a year in the making and I'm so excited to finally throw out my empties and share my numbers with you. This is my third year tracking my empties and I think this is going to be an interesting update. So I'm going to share with you all of my numbers of everything that I finished this year and then compare relevant data with the last 2 years. I'll be sharing my total monetary spend this year. Well, not spend, but the total monetary value of all of my empties. And then I also have some interesting data to share with you this year about what percentage of my empties for 2022 would I repurchase or not repurchase. And I'll share my overall thoughts with my empties this year and what the knowledge that I have with the comparison over the last couple of years. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you the flat lay of everything, and then I will talk you through the numbers after. Okay, we're back and time to chat about numbers. So I'm just going to go over numbers for makeup, like direct 1-for-1 comparison with last year. And then I'll do broader category numbers of the last 2 years as well as spend. So let's get started. For primers, I finished 3 this year and I finished 2 last year. One of mine was a mini this year. I got kind of close on the fourth one. Like I'm 60% of the way through. Conceivably, I think 3 full size is kind of being my average. For foundation, I finished 6 last year and 5 this year. While I have a lower number this year, I do think it's actually more product. Two of my foundations last year were minis. One of them was less than half full. Another one was about half full. So I did finish more product this year. Granted that I didn't actually finish a foundation every 2 months. It's kind of roughly like every 2.5-ish months is my go-through rate about. And most of my foundations that went through this year were new. So that is I now have good data to suggest that I go about 5 foundations a year. So I currently own 5, which means that I should be able to pan all of them by the end of the year. For concealer, I finished 2 last year, 2 this year. I have currently 3 concealers. I think conceivably I could finish 3 this year, only because wait a second, hold on. I just was talking about foundations. One of mine was a real mini this year, like a sample size. So maybe I finished the same amount. I didn't qualify any of my no, 2 were minis. One was like a deluxe mini, and then one was like a mini. So maybe I did finish more foundation last year. Either way, it's kind of a similar amount. Anyways, concealer, I finished 2 last year, and I finished 2 this year. That's seeming like my go-to rate. I think it's possible to finish 3 this year, only because my L'Oreal concealer only has a little bit left in it. Last year I finished 6 powders, and this year I finished 4, which is actually kind of a big jump, just seeing how much I go through powder. So I don't remember how much I went through the year before. I actually think it's probably around 5 or 6. But I mean, 4 is not like a colossal jump. It's just a noticeable difference. For setting spray, I finished 1 last year and 1 this year. For mascara, I finished 5 last year and 6 this year. 6 honestly sounds like a lot. It really does, because it's 1 every other month in essence. But my Merit mascara, as an example, we used it a couple times last year and then closed the tube and then didn't touch it for a few months. And then brought it back out this year and used it for about 4 or 5 months. That one lasted a long time compared to all my other mascaras. And same thing with my Essence Lash Princess. That one lasted like a good 4 months. In my mind, it didn't feel like I used 1 every other month, because I didn't use any. Like I used 1 for like the first 4 months of the year. And then it was like in the last 6 where I went through like the other 4 or 5. So it's just like a weird timing thing. For lip balms, I finished 3 last year and 2 this year. 1 was a mini this year. For lip glosses, this one is shocking to me. Like this one is actually shocking. I finished 7 last year. I know 2 were minis, but still, that's like a full-size product between the 2. And I only finished 3 this year. I have been a lip gloss queen like the last couple of years, using like 5 to 7 the last 2 years, and 3 just is less than half, which is a dramatic departure. And I'm not sure what the deal is. Plus, I finished 3 lip balms. Like that's 10 lip products, and I only finished 5. That one's a little interesting for me. Like I don't know exactly where that's coming from. Okay, lipstick and lip liner. I didn't use any of those last year. I finished 2 lipsticks this year and then 1 lip liner. One of the lipsticks I finished this year was a mini from my Project Pan last year. Yay to getting 2 lippies out. I forgot about the little mini that I got out early in the year. For brow products, I finished 3 last year and then 1 this year. I finished 1 eyeliner last year, 1 this year. Those aren't really notable categories. I mean, I could conceivably finish 2 or 3, just depending, like if one of the products for eyebrows, is a pencil, then I could, have a couple of those. But I'm pretty sure I was using 1 brow gel that finished and then used up a second brow gel. Or like the brow gel that I finished first was on its last legs to begin with. Anyways, I finished 2 bronzers this year. One of them was in my little palette, my Hourglass palette. Now, come to think about it, I classify the Hourglass palette as a palette. Like I finished one palette this year, but when I'm thinking about it product-wise, I use 2 powders, 1 bronzer, and a highlighter. So really, the powders should be 6. So it's the same as last year. And then 1 highlighter, which I didn't finish last year. I finished 2 nail polishes this year, 2 last year. Last year, 1 was actually a color and then a top coat. And this year, both were top coats. Okay, so for makeup empties total, I finished 39 makeup empties this year. If you want to qualify the Hourglass items as individual items instead of one palette, I finished 43 makeup items this year. I finished 39 makeup items last year and then 51 makeup items in 2020. I think 2020 is going to be the biggest empties I will ever have. I used so many mini and sample products last year. Just for context, I used more mini and foil packs than I did makeup or like other products. The total number of foil packs in 2020 is more than everything that I used combined this year. I don't think that unless I start hoarding stuff again, I'll never have an empties like that again, which is kind of the goal, to be, when you're making smarter purchases and you're not hoarding stuff, then you should be eventually I will find my sweet spot of items. And I feel like maybe not eventually, but I feel like that has already happened, because when you look at the total last year and this year, there's not a huge difference between categories. Now let's look at the skincare numbers. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of comparisons with last year, like my bigger ones, and then I'll give you the 3-year data. So for shampoo and conditioner and hair masks, I used 6 last year, 8 this year. I used 4 body washes and soaps last year, 5 this year. I used 5 face washes last year, 4 this year, 6 moisturizers last year, 5 this year. Overall, I used less skincare this year than last year. And I have some theories as to why that happened. I have been using my face wash since I got a big tub of it this time. So I've been using it since about July and I haven't finished it. There are many instances where I used skincare less. So my total for skincare finishes this year is 23 items. And then for last year, it was 31. And then the year before, 57. That's wild. 57 items. It's a huge amount. For hair and body, 18 this year, 18 last year, 33 the year before. For foil packs and minis, I used 85 in 2020, none last year, and then 3 this year. So my total number of finished products for this year is 83. For last year, 88. And then the year before, 147. What? Oh my gosh. Wild. Just a wild, 2020 was a wild time for me. Okay, we're going to get back to the total spend at the very end. But if you would like a little bit of a breakdown in terms of numbers for this year, so just for a little bit more of a breakdown of this year's numbers, for skincare, I finished 23 items and the total was $355. For makeup, the 39 items, $619. And then for hair and body is one category, 18 items and $180. For even some more nerdiness and makeup numbers, the average cost per item in skincare was $15.43. The average cost of my makeup items was $15.87. And then the average cost in hair care was $10. So my average cost across the board is $10 to $15 for all of my categories, which is interesting. And I think overall, the cost of everything is going to go down even more because I still have I have some expensive items in hair care, like a $50 Briogeo mask, a $42 heat protectant, as well as there was a $42 hair item as well. There are a bunch of zeros in the hair care item. There are quite a few zeros in the hair care items, which is bringing the average cost down, because I did include some samples and minis in here. Like I had a Glossier mini like cleanser, which I used for months in the shower, and I have since refilled. I used to talk about how I love having a separate cleanser for the shower, but I've since just put some of my main cleanser into that bottle and it's in my shower. So out of all of the categories, makeup has the least amount of zeros, but there's still like 2 or 3 in there. And then for skincare, I think skincare only has 2 or 3 as well. How many of my items did I classify as I would repurchase? 31 out of my 80 items. So that would be 38. So that would be 38%. And then in my wouldn't repurchase, there's 48 items, and that would be on the nose 60%. So I guess we would round up to 40% for would repurchase, 60% wouldn't repurchase. And what's funny enough, in my wouldn't repurchase, there's a ton of 3 stars. Like most of these things are 3-star products that I wouldn't repurchase. And also, by the way, I included wouldn't repurchase and undecided. Wouldn't repurchase makes up the largest amount of the list, but in my opinion, unless it's a clear yes, it's a clear no. So in my would repurchase category, there's $421 worth of items in there. And then in the not worth it / wouldn't repurchase category, there's $719.21 worth of items in there. So let's go to my grand total. In 2020, my total cost of empties was $2,541.92. Last year was $1,382.15. And this year, $1,155.61. So I do have problems with how I classify 2020's empties, and I mentioned that in last year's video. I calculated the estimated cost of all of my empties. So I took the full size value of each of my foil packs, and then I divided the cost like per gram of that product, and I applied it to my minis. So some of my minis had shocking amounts, like how much they would be valued at if I had to pay for them, and they were charging the same amount as the regular size, or not the same amount, the equivalent amount per gram, which, as you know, doesn't happen a lot with minis. I track my minis and foil packs the same this year as I did last year. I counted them as stuff out, but didn't calculate the price if I didn't pay for the item, but I did calculate the price if it was part of a set. So the difference between last year's numbers and this year's numbers is like 5 or 6 things, but the total cost difference is $225.55. I did use up, I believe, more zero cost items this year than last year, not necessarily because they were in PR, but like my Glossier mini as an example, that was a really great full size mini that I got in an order. The main reason why my overall cost is lower this year than it was last year is simply because my average price per product is down. And when I calculate the average price of a product this year versus last year, Last year it was $15.70. This year it's $14.45. I am overall buying things that are inexpensive, or I'm buying more things this year than ever before that are inexpensive or just at a lower price. I've been buying more skincare at a lower price, and I think that accounts for a lot of, like, we go through skincare much faster than other areas. And I'm also buying hair care at a lesser rate. And so I think once I get through the rest of my hair care that is from pre-no-buy year, there's not a lot of it left, but there's still some of it left. Once I get through that, I think it'll be, I just think that my empties are probably going to sit at between 75 and 85 products. And I think they'll probably sit at around $1,000, like 900 to 1,200 max, I think is going to be my stable number, unless I decide to spend more money on hair care or skincare. Skincare is the kind of thing that could go either way. Like now, while my reflex is to buy the inexpensive option first and then build out from there to buy more expensive options if the inexpensive one doesn't work out, I could conceivably buy more expensive skincare in the future. And there are some makeup items that I will still buy at a high-end price. So I'm not trying to say that like affordable equals better, or affordable is like what I'm only going to do from now on, but I am buying much more affordable everything, especially compared to 2020. And that's honestly something I feel good about, because in 2020 and previously, I wasn't really considering my means and the kinds of, my makeup budget now is less than it was in the past, and I'm making more money now than I was, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't find value in taking all of my free money and spending it on makeup. While I still love makeup, I don't want it to be this thing that I'm buying in high quantities. And so while my numbers are down from the last 2 years, I kind of feel good about it, because I really feel like this is a testament to everything I've been saying this year. Like, this is the evidence. I'm spending less money on stuff and on beauty products, and I'm buying less things. How much I'm spending obviously matters, but I just don't want to get stuck in the trap of freaking out every time I want to spend like $30 or $40 on a skincare product, or buy like a high-end blush or foundation. Because as has shown earlier on in the year, when I was tracking everything and want everything to be as little as possible, I got sucked into behavior that doesn't feel good for me. I feel great. I really do. And in the last 2 years, I felt great because my numbers were high. This year, I feel great because my numbers are low. And I'm hoping to be able to stick to this kind of number in the future, but, not get preoccupied if it goes up or down marginally. I would also, I think maybe a goal for next year is to have more stuff in the would repurchase category instead of the not worth it category. A lot of the stuff that I didn't like was not bought last year. Like, it was bought either during my no-buy year or before, or like I got it for free. The one clear exemption from this is some skincare, like my Paula's Choice order. There's actually some stuff from there that I would repurchase, but there's like 2 or 3 things that I would repurchase, and then another like 4 or 5 things that I wouldn't. Okay, maybe not 4 or 5, another 3 or 4 that I wouldn't. And I bought that with the best of intentions, like I bought it. So I really would love for the for next year for the would repurchase to be the 60% and the would not repurchase to be 40%, but you don't know. Anyways, that's it for me this year. Those are all of my empties. Oh my goodness, I can't believe. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me in another empties videos. I'm going to link the last 2 that I filmed in the cards, and I hope you enjoy. And I hope to see you again around here soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.